Hi, Black Cat Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror thriller movie named Final Girl. In an interrogation room, there's Veronica, a 5-year-old who doesn't have parents. She's sitting in front of William, who starts talking to her about how her parents died. To his surprise, Veronica stays very calm, so he gives her a paper with a puzzle and asks her to solve it. Veronica completes the puzzle, and then William wants to see how well she remembers things. Veronica recalls their old house in a lot of detail, and this impresses the skilled agent. He even says she's perfect. After that, William asks Veronica if she wants to go with him to a special place where they teach really talented people to do important missions. The curious girl asks William about his job, so he tells her that a bad man took the lives of his family. Veronica, feeling decisive, then asks if she can have some ice cream, making the man smile. 12 years later, a teenage Veronica is in a boat with William on a lake for training. Later on, William has Veronica stand on wet rocks without shoes to prepare her for a nighttime chase in the woods. William then suggests that she should avoid getting into fights on the water. The teenager asks if she can use a gun instead. So, the trainer gives her a gun and tells her to shoot him with it. But Veronica realizes it's empty, so William starts throwing rocks at her. He explains that having a gun without bullets would put her at a disadvantage. Veronica declines the man's offer of a drink, and he tells her to run back to their car, which is miles away, before he leaves with the canoe. At a diner, a group of teenage boys, Jameson, Daniel, Shane, and Nelson, are hanging out with Jennifer. Their leader notices a new blonde waitress named Gwen. He goes over to Gwen to ask for her phone number, and Jennifer wonders why their friend is so fixated on blondes, which is Jameson's preference, somewhere else. William tests if the teenager can use her abilities with just her determination and chokes her. Veronica is taken by surprise and can't defend herself, so the man lets her go and switches roles with her. To show her how to get out of this situation, he tells her to strangle him until he's unconscious, and Veronica does as instructed. William tries to break free from her chokehold, but he ends up losing consciousness. Frightened, Veronica pauses and gives him a wake-up slap. The trainer is left staring, astonished by her immense power. After that, William practices combat with the unique teenager and measures her, quickly assembling a gun, preparing her to confront the group of hostile teenagers. At the diner, dressed up, Jameson guides Gwen into the dim forest, with his friends following behind. Over at a bar, William tells Veronica to go up to the man in the brown sweater to test her skills, and she does what he asks. The young woman requests the stranger's help in finding the restroom, and he takes her hand. Once inside the restroom, Veronica pretends to engage in an intimate moment with the man, but she strangles him until he loses consciousness. William then comes in and praises her, but Veronica isn't content. William wakes the man up with a slap and creates a story where the stranger kissed Veronica against her will. Confused, the man apologizes. Meanwhile, in the dark forest, Gwen runs desperately as the group of friends chase after her with different weapons. When they finally catch up to Gwen, the waitress screams, and Jameson shoots her, ending her life. Later, at an inn, William refuses to provide Veronica with pain relievers for her headache. Instead, she lies down next to him on the bed, wrapped in a towel. She attempts to seduce her trainer, but William rejects her advances. Shortly after, William secures his trainee to a stretcher chair and gets ready to administer an injection containing truth serum and dimethyltryptamine, a substance that will make her hallucinate and confront her fears. Veronica insists that she's fearless, so William playfully tickles her to show that she's still a regular person despite her remarkable abilities. Then, the trainer administers the hallucinogenic injection to Veronica and fastens the straps as a precaution against her enhanced strength. After that, William departs, leaving Veronica as she starts to experience the effects of the substance. While hallucinating, Veronica finds herself in a struggle with a man who overcomes her. Suddenly, her trainer intervenes and shoots the person attacking her. Veronica rides in her spot and observes as William comes closer, scolding her as a failure. Terrified of disappointing William, she declares her love, but he responds by fatally stabbing her in the heart. Out of the blue, William splashes a bucket of water on Veronica, snapping her back to reality. He asks her about her hallucinations, and she confesses that her biggest fear is failing her mission. Intrigued, Veronica asks if William would be willing to end her life if it came to that, but he doesn't give her a direct answer. He emphasizes the importance of staying sharp and alert in any situation, especially if she faces an opponent who might have the same substance. Then, he announces that she's now prepared for her final test. Shortly afterward, William drives his trainee to the diner and introduces her to her next target. From their vantage point outside, they keep an eye on Jameson's group, and Veronica learns that they've killed at least 10 women, including Gwen as their latest victim. Veronica is horrified by this discovery. She also spots Jennifer, Shane's girlfriend, whom William reveals is part of the group's disguise. When the young men eventually leave the diner, Veronica gets out of the car to gather more information. A little while later, Veronica takes a seat in front of Jennifer and starts a conversation about the menu. The young woman decides to order milkshakes for both of them, which surprises Shane's girlfriend. When they get their drinks, Veronica notices that Jennifer seems troubled. However, Jennifer assures her that she's okay, so Veronica tries to lift her spirits. Persistently, Veronica inquires if Jennifer's issue has to do with boys, and this leads to her sharing her own unreciprocated feelings for her trainer. Thankfully, Jennifer starts to feel more at ease and confides in Veronica about her concerns regarding her boyfriend and his friends. She likens them to a group of wolves on the brink of turning on each other. Additionally, Jennifer expresses a desire to break free from the situation but feels trapped. Veronica encourages her newfound friend and imparts her mantra: "Live today as if it's your last day." Then she says her goodbyes and heads off with her takeaway fries, while Jennifer expresses her appreciation. In the car, Veronica reports that the group of friends is on the verge of falling apart and asks when their disintegration will commence. Nevertheless, William discloses that Veronica must carry out the mission on her own as her ultimate test. A few days later, Jameson walks into the diner and notices a blonde woman sitting in the corner, who, as it turns out, is Veronica. The conceited teenager takes a seat in front of Veronica, who pretends to be a newcomer to the town. Secretly, Veronica assesses him as he sips her milkshake. Then, Jameson invites her to meet him at the same spot on Saturday night, with clean hair and wearing red lipstick. Mockingly, Veronica inquires about their destination, and the young man hints that they'll be going to another round before leaving the diner. On that Saturday, Jennifer assists Shane in adjusting his tie. Shane then discloses that he and his friends are going on a hunt, sealing it with a kiss for his girlfriend. Jameson goes to get his friend, and Shane says his farewell to his girlfriend. At the same time, Nelson wraps up dinner with his mother, and when he hears his friend's car honk outside, he kisses his mother goodbye and joins Jameson's car, carrying a baseball bat. Subsequently, they collect Daniel, who is dancing inside his house, and then joins them in the car, armed with his axe. He's brimming with excitement, wondering about their next victim, and even bites the steel blade of his weapon. Meanwhile, Veronica dresses in red and leaves a "I love you" message on her mirror. Shortly after, Jameson goes to the diner to pick up his date and introduces her to his friends. When Veronica sees them dressed in tuxedos, she jokingly asks if they're part of an a cappella group. While on the road, Veronica inquires if there will be other girls where they're headed, and Jameson confirms it. Jameson pulls the car over to the side of the road. Veronica looks around the dark forest and asks if they are the first to arrive, and Jameson confirms this. Jameson leads her to a collection of worn-out couches and chairs where his friends have gathered. The men gaze at her in silence, so Veronica inquires about their usual activities. In response, Daniel suggests playing a game, and Veronica offers them a drink from her flask. Little do the young men know, Veronica had spiked the drink with hallucinogens, and they take turns having a sip. However, Jameson declines and hands it back to her. The arrogant man announces they'll play truth or dare with a twist. Veronica must first select a dare from Daniel's bag and then decide whether she wants to answer a truth or take on a dare. However, if she picks the same dare twice, she'll have no choice but to carry it out. Subsequently, Jameson initiates the game and selects a dare but decides to opt for the truth instead. Following that, Veronica selects a dare but opts for truth simultaneously, prompting Jameson to pose the same inquiry. She then discloses that she had an opportunity to rescue someone's life but failed to do so. Daniel presses for further information, but Veronica declines, opting to take a swig from her flask instead, displaying confidence in her ability to withstand the effects of the hallucinogen. Subsequently, Veronica inquires about the arrival of the other girls, expressing her sense of being outnumbered. Jameson reassures her that they are enjoying themselves and continues with the game. The overconfident individual then embraces his dare and kisses Veronica. Upon her turn, she selects the identical dare twice, instructing her to be bound. Jameson proceeds to tie her hands together using Nelson's belt and selects the dare himself. However, he opts for truth, prompting Veronica to inquire about Gwen. In a sudden shift, Daniel becomes visibly alert in his seat, while Jameson asserts his lack of knowledge regarding Gwen's fate. The other participants of the game disengage, prompting Jameson to choose a dare for the restrained woman, which unsettlingly reads die. Veronica declares her desire to return home, but the arrogant individual transforms the situation into a pursuit, urging her to start running. Feigning fear, Veronica lets out cries for help as her friends erupt into fits of laughter. Jameson then instructs his companions to shut their eyes and suggests to Veronica that she should run farther. Veronica is given a 5-minute head start by Jameson, who instructs her to run for her life. Shortly thereafter, Daniel, filled with excitement, begins his search for their target without adhering to the 5-minute rule. This prompts the others to join in the search as well. In the distance, Veronica, who had pretended to be unaware, unties herself and prepares for the mission. In the meantime, Daniel's sanity begins to unravel as he perceives 2 mascots up ahead. He charges after these hallucinations driven by his deepest fears, swinging his axe wildly. Veronica manages to evade his swings, and a skirmish unfolds between them. Eventually, Veronica gains control of the frantic man's axe, all while Daniel continues to perceive her as 2 mascots due to the effects of a laced drink. Overwhelmed and terrified, Daniel seeks refuge by attempting to hide, but Veronica ends his life using his own weapon before putting on his shoes. However, Nelson notices that some men wearing masks are surrounding him. This scares him a lot, so he shouts for his mom. Afterward, Veronica grabs Nelson's baseball bat and takes it away from him before starting a fight using their fists. In the end, Veronica gets the upper hand and defeats Nelson, but Nelson's mind wanders to thoughts of kissing his mother. Veronica then uses a rock to fatally strike him in the head, causing instant death. Meanwhile, Jameson calls out for Veronica but discovers Daniel's lifeless body near a tree. Shortly afterward, Jennifer comes to the place where they were hiding to search for Shane. Instead, she discovers the leader of the group sitting on the couch. Jameson teases Jennifer, who happens to be Shane's ex-girlfriend, and kisses her. Not long after, Shane locates Jennifer's car and witnesses his lover passionately involved with his friend. Jameson taunts Shane, which leads to Shane repeatedly striking Jameson across the face. Despite the beating, Jameson stands up to Shane, insisting that people like them are incapable of love. However, Shane disagrees with his friend's perspective. Then, he explains the real purpose of their hunting expedition to the bewildered young woman, who now gazes at them in fear. Following this revelation, Jameson brandishes a gun at Jennifer, who is now aware of their wrongdoing, but Shane steps in to protect her. Suddenly, Shane tackles his friend to the ground and beats him until he loses consciousness. Later, despite having saved her from his friend, he begins to strangle his girlfriend. However, as his hallucinations start to fade, Shane's surroundings become distorted, and Veronica strangles him until he stops breathing. At the same time, Jameson discovers Nelson's lifeless body and traces Veronica's path. Near the lake, the young woman tends to her injured and dislocated nose following her encounter with Shane. Suddenly, she hears the remaining young man clapping in approval of her actions and approaching her from the nearby forest. Jameson suggests that they both sit down so they can have a conversation and exchange questions, and Veronica agrees. During their talk, the conceited man discovers that his friends were given truth serum and DMT, which led to their hallucinatory experiences. Next, Jameson discloses that they have already taken the lives of 21 young women, including Veronica herself, to which she responds with laughter. Following this revelation, he then suggests marriage to Veronica, proposing that they join forces to end more lives, but she rejects his offer. As they fail to find common ground, Jameson instigates a physical confrontation. Ultimately, Veronica strangles the aggressive young man while they exchange blows, similar to what she did with William. Later on, she compels Jameson to consume the remaining contents of his flask, and then drags him. A short while later, Jameson regains consciousness to find his hands and neck bound by a rope while he stands on a small rock. Veronica cautions him that a misstep will result in his demise, prompting Jameson to plead for his life. Following this, Veronica suggests a game she dubs One Question. She begins by asking Jameson if he is a religious person. Caught off guard, Jameson responds with a no, explaining that he refuses to seek help from God. All of a sudden, he spots Gwen in front of him, accompanied by numerous young women whom he and his friends had taken the lives of. Filled with terror, Jameson breaks down in tears as he confronts his deepest fear, which draws closer and ultimately shoves him to his demise. Veronica observes the lifeless young man hanging there while William approaches her and commends her on a job well done. Shortly afterward, Veronica and William enjoy pancakes together at the diner as they celebrate their actions.